Hey guys, it's Landon Blake from Redefined Horizons, and this is the 5th video, I believe, in a little set of videos that's showing you how I prepare a field package for a field crew on a little topo survey. And if you watched the last video, hopefully you'll remember we just went in and set up all our arrowheads and leader lines here, arrow shafts, and edited this text. And this just tells the crew where to set their control points and aerial targets, and also shows them the mapping limits. Okay, so that's done. Now we're going to go in and edit the rest of this text. So we're going to come in here and edit the instructions for the crew that I keep in this right hand column, and then we may have some special notes that go here. Okay, so we're going to do this first. So I'm going to go in and make sure we have the right layers locked and unlocked. So we're done with the arrows. I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. We shouldn't have to move the shapes, but we are going to need to edit the text, so I'm going to leave this unlocked, this text regular layer, and I'm also probably going to have to move some text bullets around, so I'm going to unlock that layer. Okay. All right, so the information here is fairly standard for all my topos. So I give the crew some notes on their access to the site, tell them how I want them to set control, and then let them know how I want them to do the actual topo survey. Okay, so for my topo survey plans, I generally have these 3 sets of notes here on the right hand column. Okay, so we're going to deal with site access first. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell the field crew is check in with Landon before starting work on the site. I want to make sure that I've talked to the client either the night before or the morning of. Okay, so they need to do that. And then I'm going to let them know here. My field crews, if I don't watch them, will show up at 4 a.m. And this is a residential neighborhood. So I need to tell them don't start work on the site before 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. is the earliest I want these guys out. Okay. Alright, and next we'll do the control. I'm just going to move this up a couple grid ticks here since I have the space. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to let them know here is start control for site with an azimuth pair at number 1 and number 2. Okay. And I'm gonna just let's zoom in here, get a little closer, and I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. I'm gonna have a little more control notes than I normally do on this type of survey, because this is our first time to the site and we're setting control for an aerial and a total station survey. So, all right. So I'm gonna make another bullet. And on this one, we're gonna say tie all GNS control points with 2-minute RTN observations. Include 30-second check shots. Okay. Now I'm going to come over and just take a look at my layout here. And I really don't want to hold RTN elevations on my targets. I'd like everything to be tied in from a common point with the gun. So it's going to be a little bit tricky because there isn't a super easy way to see across the site. They might get line of sight through these buildings here. So I'm going to have to look at that because I don't want to create a nightmare for the field crew having to traverse all the way down here and around the block. So I'll have to think about that. If nothing else, we can do a quick level run over here if we don't have line of sight. And I'm going to be out with the crew on this job, so I'll be able to look at that with them. But I'm just going to note here. I'm going to say I do want all the control. I'm going to say shoot all total station control points using a bipod, because my crew will not do that always if I don't remind them. And we're going to say shoot all total station control points with direct reverse observations. So I want to turn direct and reverse angles to each of those points we're setting with the gun. Okay, then I'm going to add one more bullet here on the control. And I'm going to say all aerial target points need elevations from total station or level based on azimuth pair. Okay. So I'm basically telling the crew here they need to hold the elevations on the azimuth pair for the targets. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to get good vertical on those aerial targets so we get some decent accuracy out of our aerial topo. Okay, so there's our notes for our control. Now we'll go down to the topo. Okay, now we're not doing a break line topo on this. We're doing an aerial. Okay, so I'm going to say perform UAV flight for aerial topo after targets are set. And we're going to tell them include full set of oblique aerial images in flight, because we're going to want those for the client and for the drafter. In other words, I don't want just vertical images. I want the crew to get some obliques while they're up in the air with the UAV. Because we're doing a UAV on this, I'm actually going to change this a little bit, and we're going to say aerial survey. All right, so we've got this done here, these instructions. Now we want to finish filling out the instructions here for the ground infill. So I'm going to tell them, get a dozen ground shots on hardscape at each corner of the site so we can confirm the aerial. Okay, I'm going to put a dozen ground shots total. I don't need a dozen at each corner. Okay, then I'm going to tell them collect spot elevations All right, so we've done the instructions here for the aerial. So what we're doing now is we're editing the instructions here for the ground infill topo. So I told him collect some shots at each corner of the site on some hardscape so we can check the aerial topo. Okay, then I'm going to tell him collect a few spot elevations and major break lines with the total station under heavy tree canopy in locations marked on exhibit. Alright, so I think that's all we need for the topo. This is a pretty basic topo. This is just kind of preliminary design. Okay. So we'll go ahead and save that. And we're just over 10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. So thank you for watching. We'll do, I think, one more video on this topo survey plan. And I think that'll be video number 6. And what we'll do there is we're going to go in and we're going to add some notes to show the crew where I think we're going to need some spots and brake lines under the tree canopy, because there are a couple, 2-3 places here we've got some pretty heavy tree canopy. And then we'll save this to PDF and take a look at the final exhibit. Okay, so we'll do that in the next video.